Greetings everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Theron Ain, and today's topic is conditional sentences. This video is the first in the series, so basically I'll be giving an overview of all four types of conditional sentences. I'll have separate videos covering each type of conditional sentences in the near future. Without further ado, let's jump in. So what are conditional sentences and when do we use them? According to University of Minnesota professor Dr. Janneke Husterhoff, conditional sentences are used to express a condition that needs to be fulfilled in order for something else to be possible. Simply put, conditional sentences are used to express a fact or a hypothesis. Let's look at an example.
You may have 30 minutes left on your 8-hour shift, but we need those baskets put away. They would let you know one way or the other. If you can't do it, I'll just get somebody else to do it.
The last sentence she said, which began with the conjunction if, is a conditional sentence. Besides if, you may also see other words including when, unless, should, had, or, otherwise, supposing, in case of, as long as, and so on. But most of them are usually restricted to particular circumstances, which I will go into detail in my next videos. The lady you just saw in the video was an employee of a global chain department store, and she was talking about her company's high expectation of its employees. Conditional sentences consist of two parts, or two clauses, the condition and the result. Just like the germination of a seed, for a seed to grow, four conditions need to be fulfilled: a proper temperature, the right amount of water, adequate sunlight, and also sufficient nutrients. When these conditions are met, the result is that the seed starts to grow. In the example sentence, the first part, which starts with the conjunction if, states the condition, and the second part tells you the consequence or the result. Putting this in context, the condition is that an employee cannot successfully meet the job requirements, and the consequence is that the senior management will lay off him or her and find a replacement. That's a bit cruel, but that's the real world. The condition part, or the if clause, does not always have to go first. The order can change, and the meaning is exactly the same. We can have the parts about the results put at the front, and then the sentence becomes, I'll just get somebody else to do it if you can't do it.
Oh, it's so simple.
Maybe not. From a traditional perspective, there are four types of conditional sentences: type 0, type 1, type 2, and also type 3. The reason why there are different types of conditional sentences is that we use different structures based on the degrees of possibility or certainty we want to express. Let's go through the usage briefly one by one. Don't worry if you can't understand all of them right away. I'll provide examples shortly after this. When you talk about things that are factual, things that are practically never going to change, for example, general truths, habits, routines, science, laws of nature, then you use type 0. To use the conditional type 0, you need to use either the present tense or the past tense in both parts, depending on the time you are referring to. Then we'll talk about situations that are highly possible, very likely to have some sorts of results that you expect. For example, in today's world, you commit a crime and it's very likely that you'll get caught. Then in this case, you use type 1. And the structure is you use the present tense in the first part, and then for the second part, you use the word will. And next, we have an unlikely situation. It signals a rather low possibility, like winning the lottery. For this, we need type 2. And in the parts beginning with if, we need the past tense verb. In the next parts, we need would, the past tense of will. And last but not least, there is the impossible situation, and we need type 3. It's impossible because the opportunity and the timing is already gone. The part about the results talks about how you could change history if you traveled back in time. And the typical structure is the past perfect in the first half, the if clause, and would plus have in the other. Please note that linguists and language teachers understand conditionals differently. Some linguists strongly oppose the classification I just showed you for very good reasons. However, the more accurate approach is a lot more complicated for language learners, and in most situations, the traditional way to understand conditionals does the job well enough. It's time for some examples. To make this slightly semi-interactive, I will ask you to identify the type of conditional in the sentences. You may pause the video and study the slides for a while to get prepared. Let's jump in. Number 1.
They would let you know one way or the other. If you can't do it, I'll just get somebody else to do it.
If you can't do it, I will just get somebody else to do it. Which type of conditional sentence is it? Type 0, type 1, type 2, or type 3? You have 5 seconds. And the answer is type 1. You can see that in the first sentence, can't is in the present tense. And then in the next part, we have the short form of will. So that is type 1. The conditional type 1 signals a highly possible situation. In that imaginary scenario, the manager's tone is very certain, very firm. It shows a lack of trust in the employee's ability. It seems certain that you're not good enough. It also shows that once the supervisor considers you unfit for the job, he or she will find a replacement right away and have you fired. Number 2.
I have photos of Margot and me together that night over 200 miles away.
So why didn't you disclose this?
Are you kidding me? If anyone had found out, I'd have lost my job.
If anyone had found out, I would have lost my job. Which type of conditional sentence is it? Type 0, type 1, type 2, or type 3? Again, you have 5 seconds. And the answer is type 3. So in the first part, we have the past perfect tense, had found. And the second part, we have would plus have. And that's the structure of type 3. In a video, you saw a suspect being questioned for the second time. The suspect had an affair with a woman called Margot. If that relationship was revealed, he would get fired. That's why he didn't tell anyone about it in the first time. If he traveled back in time and revealed the secrets, he would get fired very soon. And number 3.
What about if you forget to feed your dog?
Well, then if you forget, I mean, it's bad for the dog. If the dog dies, it's bad.
If you forget to feed your dog, it's bad for the dog. Which type of conditional sentence is it? Type 0, Type 1, Type 2, or Type 3? Again, 5 seconds. The answer is Type 0. In the first part, we see forget, the present tense. And also in the second half is also the present tense, the short form it's. It's a type 0 if the present tense is used in both clauses. The woman in the video was asking whether not remembering to feed the dog is considered a sin. The man didn't provide a direct answer. He just stated 2 general truths. Not feeding the dog makes it suffer. Letting the dog die is also a bad thing. There is absolutely no room for possibility. Number 4.
Just a goat?
If these beasts only eat things that look good, if I were you, Miss Hayes, I'd be very careful.
Excuse me?
If I were you, Miss Hayes, I'd be very careful. Which type of conditional sentence is it? Type 0, Type 1, Type 2, or Type 3? Again, 5 seconds. Time's up. The answer is Type 2. You see, in the if clause, the past tense is used. And then in the second clause, we have I'd, short for I would. And that's the structure of type 2. So in the video, a group of people is hiding from some man-eating creatures. Someone might have suspected that those creatures only target humans who are attractive on the outside. The man used this to flirt with the woman by suggesting she was beautiful. He would be cautious if he were her. It's highly unlikely that he would become her unless he knows some kind of magic that allows him to shapeshift. So that's it for today. If you like this video, please kindly share it and smash the like button. I would also appreciate financial support to this channel through PayPal. If you have any feedback or questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Also, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And last but not least, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of upcoming videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.